It was the 1990s. I was like, 10 years old. Down by the neighborhood lake, kicking the dirt, exploring the little wooded area by the shore next to the dock. Too much TV, so I was forced to go outside. The trees around here were sparse, little stalks. That's where I first met Timmy. He was crouching over something next to the clurping water along the banks. "Hey," I said. "Hey," Timmy said back. "What's that?" I pointed at what looked like a pile of muck. "Check it out." It was a rotting bullhead fish. Its head splayed open into a pulpy mush, but the base and tail were still cleanly intact. "Did you do that?" I asked him. "No way, I found it like this." I crouched down beside Timmy and said, "Gross. Yeah, I know." I looked at the headless fish for a bit and then noticed a dull sheen from inside its body. "Look at that," I said. Timmy grabbed a bent stick with the bark crumpling off and pushed it into the neck of the fish. Out slid a coin. He held it between his fingers. The fish gunk gave it a slick membrane. It was a penny. "You want it?" Timmy asked. Sure." I took the penny and I stuck it into my awkwardly fitting jeans. I hated jeans back then, they never fit right. "You think it's magic?" There was a sparkle in Timmy's eye. It was contagious, dangerous. "Yeah," I said. "I think so." Something weird was up with that fish. Why was it smashed like that? We decided to investigate the scene like a pair of detectives. We pushed along the thin whip-like branches and looked for clues until we ran into a grassy clearing, a neighbor's backyard. We paused. "Mom says that I shouldn't go into people's property," Timmy said. I just shrugged and kept walking like I owned the place. Timmy got up, eyes appealed to the lake, afraid of getting yelled at by his neighbors. We cut through about 10 sloping, manicured lawns that slid right into the water. "This is my backyard," I said. Timmy looked at the hill leading up to my big house. "Wow, cool." We charged up the worn dirt path that Dad kept receding in a losing battle. Grass would never grow there. I slid open the glass door into the walkout basement. "Shoes off," I said, and we ran through the comfortable carpet, up to the granite kitchen and straight to the stainless fridge. We both scarfed down a yogurt, and then a bowl of cereal, and then a slice of cheese, hardly speaking to each other. "Cool house." I nodded as I chugged some OJ. "That was messed up," he said. "Yeah, I know. Can I see it?" I reached into my pocket for the penny. I couldn't find it. "Dude, I swear that I put it there." Check for any holes," Timmy said, with panic all over his face. I kept digging. Eventually, I dropped my undies to fully confirm that there were no holes in my jean pockets. "You saw me put it away. I swear that I didn't touch it," I said. Timmy then stuck his hand in my pocket and stopped. His jaw went slack as he slowly pulled out a penny from his pocket. He handed it to me. It still had the fish gunk on it. My eyes exploded. As much as any kid wants to believe in magic, there was still a small skeptic in me suggesting that it was a second penny. But I quieted all that nonsense immediately. "Let's go back to the fish." We both raced downstairs and started cutting through backyards until we hit the little public wooded area that surrounded the dock. The headless bullhead fish was still there. We looked around, feeling watched. A crow cawed in the distance. We both hunched over the remains. This time I stuck my fingers in. We both gasped as, I kid you not, I pulled out another funky penny. I put the penny to my nose and it stunk. "Do you want it?" I asked. Timmy took it and put it in his pocket. "And do you think we can get rich?" asked Timmy. "What if it gives us like 1,000,000 pennies?" I said. I became best friends with Timmy over the next few days. We were outside almost every day, still obsessing over the mystery of the headless fish. One time he was over at my house and he took a bite of an apple, and he had started to choke. He had an apple drool sizzling down his chin. Timmy ran over to the sink and retched out the chunks. He started drinking water straight from the faucet, his feet dangling off the ground as he leaned over the counter. The pulp specks of apple slurry spun clockwise down the drain. "That thing tasted gross," Timmy said. "Gross," I said. And Timmy then said, "My cousin Rick was fishing on the other side of the lake. He said that he saw a sleeping bag in the sewer drain. I bet it's a bum. Bet he smashed that fish up too." We left my house to go check on the storm drain, heading the opposite way from where that penny-giving fish was. We cut through a different batch of fairway-worthy backyards that abutted the shore. We arrived panting upon a cement pipe that stuck out of a steep hillside. It was a big, wide drain. We didn't see any sleeping bag, but at the mouth of the drain, there was a penny. We both looked at each other. "That's messed up. You want to go up to it?" I asked. Timmy hesitated for a moment. Sure," he eventually said. I went in first and Timmy followed just behind. At first, it was big enough to squat walk, but as the drain steepened in elevation up the hill, the hole got smaller. There was a thrill to this exploration, and we both could feel it. As the hole tightened and darkness became almost complete looking forward, we stopped. A cool gust of wind pushed my face with a hollow moan. Let's go back." We crawled backward for a moment until the tube was big enough to spin around. I scudded out back into the holy light at the end of the tunnel, blinded by suburbia. "We gotta get flashlights," I said. "You want to tell my cousin? He would come too." "Yeah, sure. Let's go back tomorrow." It rained the next day and Timmy didn't show. The day after that, I wasn't around because I had karate. I hated karate. The next few days, I waited anxiously around my house, hoping Timmy would ring my doorbell. The penny was warm in my soft palm. I kept eyeing it. Back-to-school commercials were littering my periphery, worsening my unease. I didn't know where Timmy lived. I wandered to the spot where we had first met, where we had found the pennies, and then we would hurry back home. I didn't want to be gone too long in case Timmy came by. I decided to take to my bike and search the neighborhood. It was a big black mountain bike with 21 gears. It always had issues when I switched them, so it was essentially a one gear that was comfortable up hills, but had enough torque to get moving down them. The further away that I got from the lake, the smaller the houses became. I approached Dinkler Road, that thick, busy street that Mom didn't allow me to cross. The houses that backed up to Dinkler were coupled together and unkempt. The yards were messy and had plastic toys hidden in the grass. I think my dad owned some rentals in this area. Down a few houses, I saw Timmy biking around with another dude. They had Nerf swords and were doing some kind of joust. I rode over to them full bore. "Danny." "Hey," I said, as cool as I could muster. "This is my cousin Rick." "The fish is gone," I said. "I know, Rick doesn't believe us. I told you we should have taken it back. I thought you were going to come over." "I tried, but I didn't know what your house looked like in the front. And then I tried going through the backs and some lady started screaming at me, so I just booked it." "Oh, okay. So did you want to get some flashlights and check out that drain again?" "We already did," Timmy's cousin, Rick, said. Barely, Timmy said. I ain't going back to that thing, it was freaky. I felt my neck prickle. I was savvy enough to not make a fuss about being left out. I had witnessed that weird kid at Jaren make broody fusses when the other kids weren't playing fair. Nobody liked Jaren. One recess, Albert found a skipping rock and chucked it at Jaren and split open his ear. The screams that Jaren made were cold right up to the spine. He drooled and cried and cursed and chased, but there was no way that he would come close to catching Albert. Albert almost always got first running around the track, except Naji, but she didn't speak English. Albert ran to the recess aid with Jaren right behind him. The aide had stopped Jaren in his fury, and he punched her in the mouth for it. Jaren got into more trouble than Albert that day. I should have just let it go, but I was jealous and wanted to go up that sewer. Let's do it, I said. Ma, give me the flashlight, I'll go first, I said. We were standing at the mouth of the tube about to begin our expedition. I was still a little salty about Timmy going back in there without me. Nah man, it gets tight up there. I'm smaller. Rick was in front last time and froze up at that same spot. I was going to protest, but then I noticed another penny at the mouth of the tube. Something felt off. Whatever, I said. Timmy went in front with the flashlight in his hand, and I crawled behind him. We had made it past the spot where we had originally turned back. The tunnel had shrunk to half its size this far in, and it was steep too. The lake was essentially a deep round pit with yards and parks drooping into it, but on this end, it was practically a sheer cliff up to the street above. I had to snake flat onto my belly to push forward. I crawled, half expecting a rat or something to jump at me. In the darkness, Timmy's flashlight movement was disorienting. I heard a faint scraping sound. They say that if you get stuck in a cave, the worst thing you can do is panic. Go ahead and say that it was all in my head, but I could feel these cement walls around me tighten like a boa constrictor. I wanted to get back on all fours. I wanted to stand up. It started to become hard to breathe. I wanted to bend and look back, but I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The tube tightened. I'm stuck, I groaned. Just keep crawling. I can't breathe. I tried not to cry as the walls constricted on my chest. Let's go back, please. No, I'm stuck. I was speaking as if the wind was knocked out of me. I'll go forward and yell for help. Just stay here. No. Even in my panic, I felt ashamed for sounding like a girl when I screamed. Everything all right down there? A voice called out. It sounded like Rick, but softer. Rick, Danny's stuck. Go get help. Keep moving. There's a ladder here, said Rick's oddly calm voice. I want my mom, I said. I needed to get out of that tube before my eyeballs popped out. The walls squeezed tighter around my shoulders. It was going to crush me. I started to squirm and scream. Concrete dust tickled down the back of my neck. Or was it little spiders crawling on me? I couldn't move my arms to reach back there, making it worse. Mom, help! I want to go back! I want to go back! Mommy! My high-pitched squeals rang throughout the tube, deafening me. I'm going to get help, yelled Timmy. Don't leave me. And then Timmy looked back at me, flashlight in hand. Something about his demeanor soothed me. It's cool, he said. You're so close. Rick's voice washed over me. My breathing quickened. I could smell the dank concrete. I laid my cheek on its grit. Its hard coolness slowed things down a bit. I closed my eyes and the tube loosened its grip. Sorry, it's okay. I'm okay. I think I can keep going now, sorry. Let's get to the ladder, follow me. We're really close, see? I opened my eyes and looked forward. Between the gaps of Timmy and the tube, I could see a clearing ahead. There was a musky blue light shining on a service ladder. The opening promised a place to stand up and stretch. God, that's all I wanted. I started to furiously worm myself forward as fast as I could, nipping at Timmy's heels. I was making little cry grunts with each push. I heard my jeans rip. "You guys can climb out from here." Rick's call echoed down from above. I swelled at Rick's voice. The thought of having to crawl back through that pipe again. I wriggled myself forward even harder, avoiding that thought. "We made it, Danny, we made it," Timmy said as his head popped out of the tube into the clearing. I heard a heavy scraping of metal above. With that, the rusted rectangular grate that covered the storm drain, some 60 pounds of iron, fell from 20 feet above. It split Timmy's promising skull instantly with a dull clunk. He was smiling at me as I saw all of his life's possibilities splatter into a brainy halo, mixing in with the damp leaves and twigs and a couple of Keystone Light beer cans. I screamed for help, but no one answered me. I begged for Timmy to keep moving, but I knew that he was done. I screamed and screamed, but I knew if I didn't get moving, something bad was going to happen to me too. I had to push the rest of Timmy's body forward and crawl over him to climb up the ladder. Rick was nowhere to be found. It took forever for my horrified mom to figure out what I was saying had happened. In the end, it was determined to be a terrible accident. When the police eventually talked to Rick, he vehemently denied ever being there. I know that I heard his voice and I don't blame him. I would have denied ever being around too if I had dropped a super grate on someone's head. But then again, something about his voice sounded different. Off. All I really know that is if Timmy hadn't insisted on going first, it would have been my brains oozing down from that storm drain pipe. It still haunts me, and I still can't shake the feeling that the drain wanted it to be me.